Have you ever looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back? I don't mean on a bad hair day. I mean a deep, soul-level disconnect. The face is yours, the eyes are yours, but the life behind them, it belongs to a stranger. That's how it started for me. In the beautiful, silent prison of my penthouse apartment, surrounded by everything I thought I wanted, feeling absolutely nothing. My name is Elena, and this is the story of how my reflection shattered and how I used the broken pieces to build a weapon. To understand the end, you have to understand the beginning. And my beginning was my sister, Clara. We weren't just sisters, we were a single soul in two bodies. At least, that's what I believed. Our parents were gone, taken too soon, leaving just the two of us. I was 16. Clara was 14. I became her everything. Her mother, her father, her protector. I worked 2 jobs after school, my fingers raw from scrubbing floors and serving coffee, just so she could have new clothes for the school dance, so she wouldn't feel the sting of our loss too sharply. I remember the nights I went to bed hungry, telling her I'd already eaten, just so she could have a second portion. I poured my youth into her, not as a sacrifice, but as a privilege. She was my purpose, and she loved me for it. Or she was a brilliant, heartbreakingly convincing actress. Fast forward 10 years. The struggling girl I was had somehow become a successful interior designer. My business, Elena Ross Designs, was my baby. And Clara was my business partner, my confidant. She handled the finances, the contracts. I designed the dreams. She built the foundation. We were a team, the Ross sisters, inseparable. Our biggest break came like a lightning strike. A billionaire property developer, Alexander Thorne, wanted us to design his entire new flagship hotel, the Aura. It was a multi-million-dollar contract, the kind that changes your life forever. I remember the day we got the call. We were in our shared office, the one with the big window that looked out over the city. I put the phone down, my hand trembling. I looked at Clara. Her eyes were wide, shimmering with tears. We screamed. We jumped up and down like little girls. We held each other. "We did it, Elena. We did it," she kept saying, her voice choked with emotion. But I should have seen it. In the reflection of her joy, there was a flicker, a shadow, a crack in the perfect picture. But hope is a powerful blindfold. I threw myself into the project. For 6 months, I lived and breathed the Aura. It was my masterpiece. My soul was woven into the very fabric of that building. Clara was always there, my constant cheerleader. "You're a genius, Elena," she'd say, looking over my blueprints. "This is going to be everything." The night before the grand unveiling, we were in my apartment. I was a bundle of nerves. Clara poured us a glass of wine. She was calm. Too calm. "Whatever happens tomorrow," she said, her voice soft, "I want you to know how proud I am of you. You've carried us for so long. You've always carried me." Her words warmed me. I hugged her tight. "We carried each other, Clara. Always." She smiled. A gentle, practiced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Get some sleep, sis. Tomorrow is your big day." My big day. Not ours. I didn't catch it then. I was too busy living in the beautiful lie. The grand unveiling was everything I dreamed. The lobby was filled with the city's elite. Crystal chandeliers, polished marble, the scent of white lilies, and expensive perfume. I stood in the center of it all, my heart pounding. I looked for Clara. She was across the room, talking to Alexander Thorne, wearing a sharp, crimson power suit I'd never seen before. She caught my eye and gave me a small, confident nod. Alexander Thorne stepped up to the microphone. The crowd quieted. This was it. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice boomed. "Welcome to the Aura. This project is a testament to a single, guiding creative force." I smiled, my cheeks aching. "The design you see around you, this is not the work of a committee. This is the work of one extraordinary talent." My breath hitched. A cold trickle of dread started down my spine. I have never encountered a vision so pure, so brilliant. He paused. And so, it is with immense pride that I introduce the visionary behind the aura, my new chief design director for Thorn Global Properties, Clara Ross. The world stopped. The air was sucked from the room. The applause was deafening. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Clara, he said, Clara. I watched, numb, as my sister walked gracefully to the podium. She hugged Alexander Thorn. She turned to the microphone. Thank you, Alexander. This project has been the journey of a lifetime. From the initial concept sketches to the final placement of every single artifact, it has been my sole passion. Sole passion. The words were like physical blows. Her concept sketches? She was talking about my work, my late nights, my soul. She spoke for 5 minutes, using my words, describing my inspiration as her own. The crowd hung on her every word. They saw a confident, successful woman. I saw a ghost, haunting the life she had stolen from me. She finally caught my eye through the crowd, and she smiled. It wasn't a smile of triumph. It was worse. It was a smile of pity. A small, condescending curve of her lips that said, "Oh, you poor, naive thing. You actually believed we were a team." Then she turned her back. I stood there, in the middle of that glittering, noisy crowd, and I have never felt more alone. The foundation of my entire life crumbled to dust. I walked out. The automatic doors hissed shut behind me, sealing away my life's work. The night air was cold. I walked until my feet ached, until the sun rose. I ended up on a park bench, hollowed out, a void where my heart used to be. But in that void, a single, cold, hard question began to form. A whisper in the ruins of my soul. How did she do it? The days that followed were a blur of gray. I didn't leave my apartment. The phone rang and rang, then silence. My business had evaporated. Clara Ross was the name on everyone's lips. My name was mud. The most painful call came from Martin, our old family lawyer. "Elena, my dear." His voice was heavy. "I saw the news. I don't understand." I sobbed into the phone, the whole, ugly story tumbling out. He listened. "Do you have any proof? Any contracts?" I told him I'd check. I went to our home office, a place that now felt foreign and tainted. The folder for Thorn contract was gone. Of course. I pulled out the company incorporation papers. My hands shook as I read them. And then, the world tilted. According to these documents, I was not a partner. I was a junior associate and lead designer, a salaried employee. Clara Ross was the sole owner and CEO. The name Elena Ross Designs was a cruel joke. She had legally erased me from my own company. I sank to the floor, the papers scattering around me. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. This was a calculated, long-term plan. While I was designing, she was lawyering. While I was creating, she was conspiring. The anger finally came. Not as a hot rage, but as a deep, glacial cold. It settled in my stomach, a core of absolute zero. I called Martin back. "Without a prior contract," he said, his voice grave. "Without digital records, it's her word against yours. And she has Alexander Thorn and a team of lawyers. A public lawsuit you would likely lose. She's covered her tracks completely. So that's it." I whispered. "She wins." "The court of law is one thing, Elena," Martin said softly. "But there are other courts. The court of public opinion. The court of professional reputation. She may have the paper, but you have the truth. The question is, what are you going to build with it? What are you going to build with it?" I looked around the empty apartment. The ashes of my old life. And in those ashes, I started to see a new blueprint. Not for a building, but for a reckoning. I couldn't fight her in a courtroom. She was expecting that. She was braced for a legal battle, for tears. So, I would give her none of those things. My revenge would not be loud. It would be a key. A single, precise key that would unlock the door to the prison she had built for herself. I remembered my journals. For every project, I kept a private, leather-bound journal. My creative sanctuary, filled with my initial sketches, my personal notes, my soul. Clara knew about them, but dismissed them as my little diaries. She didn't understand they were the map to my mind. I ran to my closet and pulled out the box. There it was, the journal labeled Aura. I opened it, page after page of my handwriting. The first sketch of the lobby, dated months before Clara met with Thorn. A note, asterisk, the central fountain should sound like rain, not like a waterfall. Gentle, forgiving. Asterisk, a swatch of the silk from the presidential suite. This was my proof. Not a legal document, but the truth, written in my own hand. But showing it to Thorn directly would look desperate. I needed him to discover the truth for himself. I needed to make him doubt the masterpiece he thought he owned. The plan began to form, cold and clear. I would become a ghost. I moved into a small studio. I deleted my social media. I changed my name to Lena Croft and applied for a low-level freelance job on the Aura's finishing touches. I got it. My task was to liaise with art installers. Clara would never stoop to this level of detail. I was beneath her notice. Perfect. Walking back into the Aura was agony. Every corner screamed my name, but everyone saw Clara's face. I kept my head down, a phantom in my own house. I started whispering the ghost of my ideas. I befriended an intern, Liam, who gushed about Clara's brilliance. He told me how she'd explained the central courtyard's inspiration as classical Roman atriums. My blood ran cold. My inspiration hadn't been Roman. It had been the overgrown, wild garden of our childhood home. I had written about it in my journal. Asterisk, the courtyard must feel wild, contained but free, like the garden from before, like a secret world. Asterisk, Clara didn't know that. She had fabricated a history because she didn't know its true, emotional heart. This was the crack. Her weakness. She knew the what of my designs, but she never understood the why. I began to plant seeds. In meetings with Thorn, when Clara spoke, I would gently offer an alternative truth. It's like that feeling of being in your grandparents' attic as a child. Alone but safe, I'd say about the guest suites. Or of the light fixtures, they've always looked like frozen morning dew on a spiderweb to me. I saw Thorn glance at me, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. He was starting to hear a different song. Meanwhile, I began the masterstroke. I transcribed passages from my journal onto plain paper. The emotional core of each space. The memory behind the wallpaper. I left them where only Alexander Thorn would find them. On his desk. In his car. On his private balcony. He never saw me. He just found the words. My words. I was the ghost in his mind. The pressure built. I heard through Liam that Thorn was asking more questions, detailed questions about design intent that Clara couldn't answer with her textbook explanations. She was getting flustered. The crack was spreading. Then came the Architectural Digest feature. The ultimate validation. The journalist, Sarah, arrived for the tour and interview. Clara was poised, perfect. They moved through the hotel. Then, they entered the central courtyard. What was the core emotion you were trying to evoke here? Sarah asked. Clara smiled. A modern interpretation of a classical Roman atrium. Order, symmetry, civic pride.
A lie.
From behind the photographer, I caught Thorn's eye. And very slowly, I shook my head. Just once. A tiny gesture of denial. His smile faltered. The anonymous notes, my whispered insights, it all clicked into place. He saw the ghost. As the group moved on, I lingered next to Sarah. It's funny, I said softly. It always feels to me like the garden we played in as children. Wild and secret. Before the bad things happened. Sarah turned to me, her instincts alert. What do you mean? I gave a sad smile. Oh, nothing. It's just a feeling. How a place can hold a memory you never knew was there. I walked away. The seed was planted. Later, in a sit-down interview, Sarah asked the question I knew would come. Clara, the courtyard. There's a very intimate, melancholic feel. Is there a more private story behind that space? Clara froze. I saw the panic in her eyes. She had no story. She stumbled. Well, All design is personal, a synthesis of influences, she was over-explaining. Her tell. Sarah pressed. But a specific memory? A specific place? Clara's mask slipped. It's a professional concept. I don't see the relevance of my childhood. The room went quiet. Thorne stared at her, his face like stone. For a designer to dismiss the personal story was to reveal a hollow core. She had revealed herself. As Sarah packed, I accidentally knocked my bag over. My private journal, Aura, tumbled out, falling open to the page with the courtyard sketches and the words, asterisk for Clara's garden. For the world we lost. Asterisk, I scrambled to pick it up. Sarah's eyes locked onto it. She had seen the final piece of the puzzle.
For 3 days, silence.
Then the storm broke. Liam forwarded a link. The Architectural Digest preview. The headline. The Ghost in the Aura. The Unseen Architect, and a Story of Betrayal. I clicked it. There were my designs. But the text told my story. Sarah had pieced it all together. She wrote about the emotional depth, the disconnect with Clara's explanations, the anonymous consultant, and she quoted from my journal. The true, emotional blueprint of the aura was exposed. The article was a sensation. My phone rang. It was Alexander Thorne. His voice was tight with fury. Elena, we need to talk. My office.
Now.
I walked in for the last time. Clara was there, by the window. She turned, her face a mask of hatred. You, she spat. You pathetic, jealous little worm. What did you do? I told the truth, Clara. I said, my voice even. Something you wouldn't recognize. Thorne stood behind his desk, the article lying before him. Is this true? He asked Clara, his voice deadly quiet. Did you take your sister's work? Her story. Clara laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. She's jealous. She's fabricated this because she can't stand that I'm the one with the talent. I built this. You built nothing. The words erupted from me with a profound, weary sadness. You built lies on top of my work. You can steal the plans, but you can't steal the passion. You can steal the name, but you can't steal the soul. I walked to his desk and placed my journal down, open to the first page of the aura. This is the real story. Every line, every note, dated, documented. Thorne looked down. He saw the truth. He looked at Clara. Get out. Her eyes widened. Alexander, you can't be serious. She's lying. Get out, he roared. You have deceived me. You are terminated. Effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building. It was over. Clara stood rigid. Her world collapsed. She looked at me, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the lost little sister.
But it passed.
The hardness returned. She straightened her jacket. You think you've won, she whispered, venomous. You've destroyed everything I built. I looked her dead in the eye. No, Clara. You did that the moment you decided to build it on my grave. She turned and walked out, the door clicking shut on our story. I turned to leave. Elena, Thorne said, tired.
Wait.
The hotel, it is a masterpiece. The position, it's yours. It was always meant to be yours. I smiled, a small, sad smile. No, thank you, Mr. Thorne. I don't want to work for a man who couldn't tell the difference between a real creator and a clever thief. But I will be sending you an invoice. For my design work. All of it. I suggest you pay it. I didn't wait for his reply. I walked out of the aura for the last time. The ghost was finally free, stepping into the sunlight. I never saw Clara again. The scandal followed her. The fate she suffered wasn't one I designed. It was the consequence of her own choices. Thorne paid my invoice. I opened a small boutique firm. I design homes now. Spaces filled with love and memory and truth. It's quieter work, honest work, and it's mine. She walked into that office expecting my forgiveness or my brokenness. She never expected that I had found a strength she knew nothing about. She never expected that my truth would be so powerful it would change her fate forever. The world will try to write your story for you. People will try to steal your light. Don't let them. Your truth, your authentic self, is the most powerful weapon you possess.
Guard it.
Nurture it. And if someone tries to take it, don't seek to destroy them with their own methods. Just shine your truth so brightly that it exposes all their lies for the shadows they are. Because in the end, light always wins. And the truth always finds its way home.